Welcome, Exiles. Previously in Path of Exile, getting a +5 staff was something that really you couldn't achieve, and with Harvestcraft it is very easy to actually make these. Now I'm going to walk through a staff example, but the points I'm making about how to do it with the staff is pretty much the exact same for wands and for scepters as well. So you can apply these tactics to getting a +2 wand, a +2 scepter, stuff like that. Now to start off with, all we really need to get is a staff or a scepter, whatever, with the +1 all spell. It doesn't have any extra tiers. It can roll 1 to 2. So you see this one says +1 on it. We can divine it to get it to say +2 to all spells. That doesn't matter. So now that we have a base with the +2 to all spells, next I'm going to walk you through the concept of how to get the additional +3 or +1 of a specific element. Now to start off with, I'm walking through the examples for the elemental stuff. You can get chaos and physical in a pretty similar fashion, though they're not much harder. Frankly, physical might be the easiest. But anyways, I'm going to walk through doing the elemental ones. So to begin with, on this staff, you'll notice we have a flat lightning to spells here. You basically need to get a flat lightning or cold or fire to spells of the element you're not doing. The reason for this being is one of the biggest mod pools for the fire, cold, or lightning, and when you're doing these remove adds, is the plus to spells pool. And if you block cold to spells or something and you start doing remove add fires, you cannot hit fire to spells, which that'll take away about like 6,000, 8,000, 7,000 waiting, somewhere around there. It's a big thing to block. So initially you want to block the plus to spells of the different element that you're doing. I'm doing fire, so I'm blocking lightning to spells, which means I can't roll fire to spells when I'm doing remove add fires, okay? So basically what this means is when we're on, well, before I do that, I'm going to go through setting up your staff, because the other thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be crafting cannot roll attacks here. So the other reason we're doing cannot roll attacks is to block the flat fire to attack. So you'll see this is a 5,000 waiting here. So what we're doing is we're taking out the biggest pools of mods that can occur to give us the highest chance to get +3 to fire, because our goal is to get the +3 to fire, which is a 125 waiting, if I can find it. Yeah, 125 waiting. So if we take out the 5,000 waiting to attack and the 7,000 waiting to fire to spells, that takes it from basically we used to have 1 in 150, maybe even a little bit higher, like worse odds to get +3 to fire spell, which would mean 150 remove add fires, so we hit +3 to fire spell. If we block fire to spells and we block attack to spells, it becomes a 1 in 30, which is very achievable with just only about 1 blossom worth of fire crafts. This is the amount of benches I was able to get in remove adds, augments, and removes. I will actually maybe a little bit less, because I did have some extra augments and extra removes sitting around, but I'll probably get it in the first set of blossom crafts, like literally just 1 set of blossoms and fire seeds, and you can guarantee yourself a +5 staff is what I'm telling you are the odds. Now, to get there, first things first, we have a staff, we just bought one, we bought one with +1 spell. You can also roll this with fossils or alteration spam for it. It's roughly like 1,800 alterations to hit the +1 spell, or it's like 19 3-socket resonators, or 1 in 4 4-socket resonators. If you go to Craft of Exile, you can look up the specific resonator crafts there to hit it. But you grab a staff like this with the +1, and then what we're doing here is we're going to get caster suffixes. This you'll see why later, but basically we're going to fill up the suffixes. Is our first thing, is our first job basically. So we have 3 caster prefixes, which means if we do non-caster to caster, it'll take the crit multi and it'll turn it into caster. You see we hit crit for spells right there. Next thing you know, we're going to go over to the augment caster here. This will give us a cast speed. So we have cast speed now on the staff. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove our crafted mod, and we're going to go craft cannot roll attacks. So that will block the fire to attacks from occurring. So that's what we're crafting right now. It's a 1x craft. So you come over here, and you can get it from doing, I forget which prophecy. You can look it up. If you don't have it, it'll say you need to do this prophecy, basically, and that's where you get the cannot roll attacks meta mod. So now that we have cannot roll attacks, the only mods we can hit when we augment fire and remove add fire are fire dot multi, fire is chaos, increase fire damage, and fire spells. And they all together take up like a 3,000 waiting pool, or roughly a little bit higher, but the +3 to fire spells is a 125 waiting. So it's roughly going to be about a 1 in 30 for us to hit +3 to fire spells. I'm going to fast forward through me rolling these, and then we'll talk about what to do from there, because I'm going to also talk about rolling fire dot multi. Well, that kind of sucked. We played the odds so far, and we got really unlucky. We got many things that were much rarer than +3 spells, considering we got T2 Fire Dot Multi twice, which that mod itself is rarer than +3 spells. We got +2 to all fire spells like 6 times or 5 times, and it's only twice as rare as the +1 to spell. So on average, if I got 5 of those, I should have gotten at least +3 2 times. Point is, we got really unlucky here. I'm going to go farm some more fire seed crafts, and we're going to get it done. And we finally hit it. +3 fire spell. That was horrible RNG. We hit rarer mods multiple times. Alright, now that we have +5, I went ahead and I used a randomized caster to get to +2, so we can see the aesthetic +5 going on here. Now note, this is easier to do to get +2 scepters or +2 wands if you want to do those types of things. Because with getting the +2 wand, you're going for the +1. Basically, for scepters, they can go to the higher tier for the +3 spells versus just the +1 here. But the weighting on wands is still 250 there, so you're much more likely to hit this. And frankly, we hit this mod about 6 times before we hit our +3 to fire spells. So keep that in mind. It's going to be much easier to craft a +2. Now let's get into some little cheeky mechanic that I figured out fairly recently, and this is just specifically for people doing fire dot builds. For other people, this isn't necessarily too useful, but we're going to show you how to craft guaranteed high fire damage over time multiplier while you already have +5 on the staff. And this is huge for a Scorching Ray or Righteous Fire build. Frankly, I plugged in a staff I made for specifically Righteous Fire because I was curious how much more damage I'd get with the +5 staff with like 100 dot multi, and it was like 2 million more DPS, like a 33% more damage type of upgrade. So this is something you could do for Righteous Fire as well. And also consider this, I messed up the guide on the budget scepter. At the end there, I said you could augment fire until you hit increased fire damage. I forgot to realize that the increased fire damage on the scepter obeys the caster metamod, even though it is not a caster affix. So that's my fault, guys. I'm sorry if you spent some time augmenting fires while you have cannot roll caster and were wondering why you weren't hitting increased fire damage. That's my bad, but I'm going to try to make it up for you by showing you this little trick to get +2 and fire dot multi on your scepters or your staves if you try to build one of these. So to start off with, we're going to go ahead and craft cannot roll caster right here, and then we're going to remove the lightning spells, okay? And then I'm going to talk about basically doing remove add casters. So previously I told you guys about how the fire dot multi doesn't obey the caster metamod. It's a caster affix, but it doesn't obey the metamod, which means if you have cannot roll caster and you augment caster, it can hit fire dot multi. Now I'm going to talk you through a way to guarantee removing adding fire dot multi without risking your +2 scepter or your +5 scepter. And the way it works is if you have cast speed and crit for spells on your suffixes, and this is a non-influence base or a base that doesn't have extra caster affixes in the suffix pool. But the way it works is if you have cannot roll caster and cast speed and crit for spells, and then you have 2 other caster affixes, and then you have fire damage over time multi as one of your caster affixes, and you do remove add caster, what will happen is if it tries to remove your cannot roll caster affix, it can't, because if it removes it, it has to put on a suffix, and there's no other caster suffix it can put on because we already filled up crit for spells and cast speed. That's why I was getting caster mods on the suffixes to begin with. Now, since we can't roll cast speed or crit for spells, we can't remove a cannot roll caster to add a caster because we can't add any casters, right? So that means we can only remove a prefix caster and add a caster. Now, if it tries to remove our plus to fire spells, it can't do that because if it does that, and we already have fire dot multi on the staff, the only mod that can't obey the caster suffix or metamod, it can't put on any other casters thing because the fire dot multi is already on the scepter or on the staff. So the only thing you can do with remove add casters when you have fire dot multi already on there, and you have these cast speeds or cast speed and crit for spells already on the suffixes, and you have cannot roll caster metamod on there, the only thing you can do is keep re-rolling the fire dot multi. So first we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove lightning right here, take it off, get it out of the prefix pool. We're going to go ahead and augment caster, and it's guaranteed to hit fire dot multi. It can't hit anything else. and then we're gonna stop because we hit T1 fire dot multi. Dang it! Screw this scepter. It's messing up my example. I'm like, oh, it's a 1 in 30 to hit fire dispels, and then I do 1 in 100, and then I want to showcase how you can remove and add fire dot multi, and it hits T1 the first time, and now I have to stop because no way in hell am I re-rolling T1 fire dot multi. Point is, you could re-roll this remove add caster, and anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and go now. Hopefully this helps you guys make some cool staves and scepters, and screw this scepter, man, or screw this staff. I mean, it's great because it rolled well, but it screwed up my example because it showcased me having really bad RNG rolling the +3 fire spell, and then I didn't even get to showcase the remove add caster to prove to you guys that it works. Just trust me on this one, it works. I've done it before. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. You have a good one.